Hey guys, welcome back to Release the Craftin'. Priscilla here for another day, another crafty day. I don't know how to start my videos now. That I'm not doing a challenge. Well, I guess I am doing a challenge, but not really a challenge. It's not a challenge at all. It's just an ongoing running hashtag because I have been informed that since I have been making Twinchies lately, I should start doing hashtag Twinchie Tuesday, which is hosted by Jen at Sassy Southern NC Girl. So hello. I am here. I am doing the hashtag. And it is Twinchie Tuesday, so I'm making Twinchies, which you would have already gathered before you clicked on the video. Um, so, yeah, I have been making these things in a desire to make small art and use up small things that I happen to have. And I mean, it only makes logical sense to join the hashtag and post what I'm making and not just like make it off to the side. I have been making a little bit of this stuff on Patreon, but usually I just sort of make Twinchies as like a warm up because that's where I started out originally before I got into junk journaling, was in the art journaling space. And then I was in an art journaling group where we would do swaps, and the swaps were usually like make inchies, make Twinchies, make ATCs. Occasionally it was like 8x8 pages, and then eventually just sort of graduated into finding journal swaps and stuff like that, which is how I ended up in the junk journal world to begin with. But I always really enjoy making ATCs. I also really like making art tiles, which is sort of the same concept but slightly sturdier. So, I mean, just one of those things I like to fall back to. And they're just fun. They're fun to like test stuff out with and like, give it a shot, test out new things, new color combos, new stamps in this case, because I got a new stamp set that I wanted to test out. And of course, I chose the highest degree of difficulty I possibly could for this one. And by that, I mean it's not very difficult, but I made it harder on myself than I needed to. So I thought it'd be really cute to just sort of jump in here and have like a little casual chat, a little cas chat. And that's not faster. A Kazat is not even easier to say. So a casual chat with you guys while I make some Twinchies. This is actually a little bit slower than my usual sped up videos. Let me know if you guys like this speed better. I know that sometimes like my usual speed, let me back up. The speed at which my camera records in hyperlapse mode, which is the high speed mode, is at 5x, and that's the lowest I can record it in. So sometimes you guys tell me it's a little too fast and you can't see everything. If I record normally, I have to convert it to a sped up mode, and this is like 2.5 times. So if this is something easier to see, then I will do that for the shorter videos for sure. For the longer videos, they're longer. It takes a lot longer, and it also takes a lot longer to convert them to sped up videos on my little video editor if they're very long videos. So it works for the short ones, but all in all, this is like about 25 minutes of creative play shrunk down to 7 minutes, so not bad at all. In fact, this may even be 3 times speed now that I'm doing the math out loud with my mouth. I don't know what I did when I did the thing. I feel like it was somewhere in the 3x sort of speed range. But if it's easier to see this way, then I will do that for these types of videos. Because I am an indescribably slow crafter. Just impossibly slow crafter. So at any rate, what am I doing? I have these little moth snapshots, which were a freebie over on my Patreon. Back when Moz and the Scratic was happening. So if you are just now joining, you can scroll back to January and see that this is a freebie there. And then I have my little craft colored Twinchies, and I thought they make cute little like slide Polaroid type things. I don't really know what the vibe is, but I wanted it to look like glass, so I embossed them in clear embossing powder. And then I'm using these broken glass stamps, which is the new tool that I got to test out how that looks on top of here. And I do really like how this came out. It was very difficult to stamp like very cleanly, like with a nice pristine line, because I was stamping onto a slick surface. So that was where the difficulty came in, because of course I would have made it super difficult. And so I'm not really doing these stamps the best justice. Because honestly, it probably would have been just easier to stamp it onto acetate. then onto clear embossing powder, which is a little bit slick, or at least more slick than acetate would have been. But at any rate, at the end of the day, I do still like the result. I like that it looks like shattered glass, so I am happy with this little experimentation. And it's also kind of the whole reason I like to do these little twinchies, is to try out stuff before I put it into play for like bigger projects and things like that. Because it's a little tiny snapshot of what you got. And so yeah, I think these came together pretty quickly and pretty cutely. I actually really like how they look. So definitely going to experiment more with stuff like this. And I do like the little vignette that I've created by inking it all up in the brown and then coming back to do just the edge in black. I actually really like how that looks. So I think I will probably be implementing that more in the future as well. And what else? I don't know what else. I have nothing else to say. That's essentially what I've done, is make these little tiny, like, photo slides. I turned the Polaroid photo into a smaller Polaroid photo, which actually works out just fine. I actually really like how these look. But you know me, you guys know that I love moths, and there's a little, like, I don't even think it's a cicada. I think it's a moth that looks like a cicada in there. But I like stuff that looks like this. So it all worked out really well for me. And then I'm just using some book pages, some words that I cut out of a book not that long ago, to add a little sentiment to these, because I felt like it just needed a little bit of something. But I always feel like stuff needs words. Otherwise, it just looks very random. Although, granted, if I had left them blank, I could have probably tucked them into like a cluster or something, and they would have worked. They'll still work in a cluster. I think that's the thing, too, is that there's always some kind of use you can apply to twinsies. You can turn them into charms, into little clusters, little scrapbook embellishments, focal points. Like, there's use for them, even though they are little tiny bits of art. But they're also just fun to look at on their own as little individual things. And, like, I don't know, maybe I'll get back into swapping them if I get a whole bank of them going. But yeah, that's basically everything for this Tuesday. So I'll see you guys next Tuesday for another Twinchy Tuesday, and I hope that you enjoyed. I appreciate your faces. Happy crafting, and don't forget to come back and see what else I'm making here. Goodbye.